decided not to because this has been my constant kind of existential crisis with remakes, especially when they're thrillers.
Yeah. I won't say that it was funny, but it came out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere.
For sure.
Suddenly, he's selling a kidney.
Yeah. At least in the last 15 or 20 minutes, there was a sense of groundedness that I felt, which then made me think that everything's sort of inconsistent of what pitch they were really going for. And you're basically just sitting over
there. It's like the Gaul village.
It is. It's just one fight after the other, and you're like, I love the fact it's not deeper than that.
Hey everyone, I'm Anupama Chopra.
My name's Anmol Jamwal.
And this is The Late Take. Anmol and I are going to talk about the films that released last week. But we also have the announcement for the winner of the FC merchandise giveaway, which was in the Laal Singh Chaddha review last week. So stick around. But before you get there, we need to deep dive into the films. And Anmol, it was a troubling week for me. How was it for you?
A sad week, I guess, ma'am. Especially, I think you constantly talk about this also, that you're a fan of Hindi cinema, and when a labor of love doesn't do well, it really does break your heart. And I feel like I was on the same boat as well. You start, ma'am. Then I'll.
So you know, for me, Anmol, I'm always a great admirer of just work and passion and. You know, जो मतलब वो एक जान लगा के film बनाना, and you play for broke, you know, you put it all out there on the line, and that's what, you know, everyone has done on the team of Laal Singh Chaddha. Advait Chandan, the director, of course, Aamir Khan, who is the lead and the producer, and Kiran Rao, who's the producer, and I just feel like you can see the work. That's gone into it. You can see the money that's gone into it. You know, just the level of effects, the scale of the shoot. You know, kahan jaake ye picture banai hai. And I really went in wanting to cheer and wanting to love it. And the truth is, I didn't. It didn't move me enough, though there's so much about it that I thought was lovely. I thought the beginning, especially the young child, was just beautiful. He got, for me, he got the sur of this character so perfectly.
It blows my mind, ma'am, on how jarringly different it is when he's a teenager or a 21-year-old going to college, and how he was as, say, a 7 or an 8-year-old. The tonality itself is so different that I wonder what went wrong when you're looking at it from a chronological standpoint. How is it not registering in at least the makers for it to make sense? And you know, I saw one of Aamir's interviews talking about how Atul Kulkarni wanted him to tone it down a bit, whereas Advait and him thought otherwise. And I feel like, you know, it probably is a testament to the fact that the man's adapted it and wants it a particular way, seeing the original film and that not materializing the same way. I think it's become the biggest sticking point of the movie.
It's absolutely. For me, you know, look, there are other problems with the writing as well. I think the other characters, you know, the character of Nag Chaitanya, or the character that Manav Vij plays, or even Kareena Kapoor Khan, who is lovely in the film, but on paper is very sketchy, though better than Jenny in the original. Better than Jenny. So hats off to that. You know, hats off to that. But I feel like none of the other characters were written with enough depth. And Laal Singh, who's the center of the piece, is performed so awkwardly that you're emotionally not invested.
Ma'am, you know, it's to a point where I was rewatching, as I told you.
It's amazing. No, I'm an admirer of your commitment. Folks, he went back and watched the film to kind of reconfirm how he felt about it, which is incredible.
Because also, ma'am, I was thinking about it, like probably, you know, it isn't jarring for everyone.
Sure.
And there's a point where I realized that Aamir is almost overcompensating to be reactionary for every scene, where Nag Chaitanya is showing his family photographs and he's reacting to every word, every sentence with a movement of the neck or the eyes. And I feel like it totally, like, absolutely ruined the situation where a Tom Hanks performance was like so vivid in everyone's memory. it didn't do any service for the character. And as you said, ma'am, I couldn't get over the fact that in the process of adapting the film, why are you complicating a character like Manav, which I understand that there's a point of trying to create a socio-political commentary about India and Pakistan and love conquers all, but it made no sense.
It made no sense. I mean, okay, come on. In a film like this, we can't also expect like 100% logic.
Yeah.
But the logic that a Pakistani, spoiler alert,
Yeah.
that a Pakistani insurgent militant would be in a military hospital being treated and then become the owner of Rupa Banyan and then make it to the cover of India Today magazine and nobody figures out who this man is. It's just unnecessary and it adds nothing. And I felt like Lieutenant Dan and Baba in Forrest Gump were such pivotal characters. And here they've given Poche the protruding lip of Baba, but that lip does nothing. There's nothing except that's his only character trait, that he has a protruding lip and he talks about underwear.
And I understand that you're trying to develop a friendship which will then ultimately lead to, say, when he passes away, this emotional connection. I tried so hard to be emotionally invested in this story, ma'am, and I just couldn't get there.
Yeah.
And I feel like there has to be a combination of both. Probably an issue with the performances and the kind of writing for the supporting characters, which didn't really lend to us connecting with them deeply. Ma'am, the music's beautiful. India's captured so well.
It is beautiful. I think Preetham, Amitabh Bhattacharya have done a wonderful job.
Yeah.
It's very moving.
Yeah.
It's very sort of philosophical. I think the words have real depth. The music is very kind of... it's very melodious and fitting, Turkalia, or the situations that you've created. Absolutely, the cinematography is so beautiful. Those scenes in like Ladakh or Goa or any of those places. And I think genuinely, Kareena was so lovely in a character which again was very sketchy, but you felt her pain.
I did. It was one of the characters that I actually had a knot in my throat or thought about it. At least in the last 15 or 20 minutes, there was a sense of groundedness that I felt, which then made me think that everything's sort of inconsistent of what pitch they were really going for. And yes, ma'am, heartbroken for sure.
For sure.
And it didn't.
And to me, Aamir is one of the finest artists in Indian cinema. Look at the films he's done, look at that track record, look at the performances. He's not in his performances you can see he's working at it, but he gets it. I feel this is one of the very rare times when the performance has gone off. Because even in films where the films are not great, he always gets it.
And I feel like, ma'am, his strength is the understated characters, whether it be Dil Chahta Hai, Rang De Basanti, Sarfarosh, all of these movies, the less he's doing, I feel like it really translates better. And you can still excuse a PK for him playing an alien, which has no context to how humans will react to situations.
This one so close to PK? And it's unnecessary. You could have done so much, and I think that the child actor really got it bang on. He got the sur right, and so did Advait, who's very good with kids. The kid portion of the film was just lovely, but completely heartbreaking. And though I don't think there's a lot of chatter right now, Anmol, about whether the boycott trend on Twitter impacted, and the truth is, I'm not so sure. I just think that the film didn't grab people.
I agree, ma'am. I can't, I think both of us can't create a mathematical equation or an objective cause and effect to it.
Sure.
But the fact that it didn't connect with most people, I feel like that was its biggest downfall. Rather than,
the other thing I loved was Mona Singh, who we don't see enough of on the big screen. Those scenes again, it's all the childhood part. She was, of course, whole discussion that she's much younger than Aamir. Why is she the mother? But I'm saying, okay, suspend disbelief. Let's go with it. And she was just so nice in terms of being strong and assertive without being shrill.
I agree. 100%. You know, even like what Sally Fields did for the mother role, I feel like it captured the essence beautifully. Just to see Mona Singh on that tractor going back to her
What
house,
a lovely image.
What a lovely image.
Yeah.
And I thought she did a splendid job as well. And yes, we don't see enough of her for sure.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mona, do more.
100%.
What did you think of Raksha Bandhan, the other big release of the holiday weekend?
So again, ma'am, I went with a clean slate.
Yeah.
I thought,
Anand Rai, come on.
Anand Rai goldie invested in this, small town world that he takes us to, and I assumed it to have a progressive arc in terms of, probably a person who's dated with his perception of what women should do, and then understands that they're more than just the concept of marriage. I feel like it was completely confused in its messaging.
Absolutely. I got whiplash from trying to follow ki aap bol kya rahe ho?
So, ma'am, the entire setup being, okay, he's a regressive dude who wants to marry off his his sisters, who obviously are probably 18 or 20, and I don't know why he's in such a rush and why he's panicking so much, but he's constantly panicking. So that's the memo.
Yeah.
But I feel like the overkill of really going full on with the sense that he's a bigot or he's a sexist was going too far for me, where I was like, okay, now what's the point? Is this entertainment that they're the butt of the jokes? Or are you trying to set up so hard where, the eventual arc makes sense? For him to say, agar ladki chedoge na, to usse shadi karni padegi, nada bandh ke rakho and all of that. I was like, this is just jarring to the point of just being crass rather than you making a point eventually.
Yeah. But Anmol, my sense was कि somewhere इस film के अंदर was actually an interesting film.
I agree.
है ना?
Yes.
Because it talks about a man in a small town. Not a small town. They're in Delhi, but they're in Chandni Chowk.
Yeah.
He's a middle class guy. He's got this Golgappe ki shop. Yeah. And he's a guy who only thinks there's one thing women are good for, and then eventually learns and evolves and becomes a man who's very supportive and empowering of these sisters who do different things. Yeah. So there is an interesting character arc. There was meat there, but I don't think the film believed in any of it. Because those poor sisters had zero dignity.
No.
The only sister who had dignity, Anmol, was the one who conformed to every stereotype of what the Bharatiya Nari should be, which is Sadia Khatib, which was the beautiful, homely, chai serving, who's not dark-skinned, who's not overweight, who's not like male in any way, who dresses for the part, and Akshay's character actually says, "Sabse honar bacha." I was like, oh my God!
No, ma'am, and what I felt was the running time is 1 hour 15 minutes. Okay, so in the attempt to make us feel for, spoiler alert again, her loss.
Yeah.
Like, first of all, when the marriage was set, you didn't inquire about who it is,
nothing.
What the family is.
Neither did she.
Straight to the wedding. Okay, and then
she didn't want to ask ki ye ladka hai kaun?
Yeah, and no concept of. Even a brewing sense of domestic abuse, what's happening, just a plate being placed on that kitchen, and you're like, okay, probably life isn't that great, but for me to then be invested when he runs and sees that body, I'm like, the jump to the emotional beats was so fast, I feel like I didn't feel it, but ma'am, for me, the worst was the end montage. The dying promise to be fulfilled, now you've realized that women are more than marriage, but because of that dying promise, you're still like, no, but marriage is still important. I agree that you're a lawyer, you're a...
Correct. Cop. One of the sisters becomes a cop.
And for them to then pick one husband each and then land up and then Akshay to be with white hair.
Yeah, it was...
And Bhumi, she was crying throughout.
And I feel so bad for her. She's such a fine actor. And she even makes this look good in some ways, like this poor woman who's waiting for Akshay to marry her.
But why was she so after him? What? Like, there was
why was he so eligible?
There was a point where he was constantly ignoring her. And I was like, she comes back again and again and again. I was like, and her father is just shouting and shouting. At one point in time, it was so much screeching happening. I was just like, need to calm down.
But the worst victims of the scenario were those three sisters.
For sure.
Anmol, to have a scene in which she's eating and that matchmaker, lovely Seema Pawa says ki ye to kutte ke hain. Matlab, if you offer your characters zero dignity, how do you expect us to buy into your woke stance or this progressive anti-dowry message? Because you have no respect for them.
Ma'am, I feel like in the, as you said from the introduction, in the pursuit of being woke, it was completely confused, and I didn't have conviction of that itself.
Correct.
I wasn't. Ma'am, I do have to say, I love Akshay Kumar in comedies.
Right.
Situational
He's
comedies.
Very funny.
He's very
naturally
funny.
Yeah,
and when he's frustrated, and the way he's just, like, whether it be good news or his old movies like Khatta Meetha, I thoroughly enjoy it.
Correct.
But I feel like the writing was totally off.
Yeah,
in this movie.
it was totally
I
off.
just could not get back. So
No. This one was a big no for me.
And you, ma'am, I'm not, this constant barrage of comments of being like, you're privileged, that's why you don't know what the reality is. I'm saying that's not the point. The point point I'm not trying to make is that a brother doesn't talk to his sister like that. What I'm trying to say is the overarching theme that the movie wants to focus on is completely all over the place. That's my point.
And the fact that the film itself doesn't empower these women. I mean, Akshay is very much the savior for all the women, including his girlfriend, his sisters, everyone. Like, the women, bichara, have no agency. Then suddenly they become cops and lawyers.
That's what it is, ma'am. For 1 hour 40 minutes, you're focusing on the theme or the arc of Akshay Kumar. The 10 minutes is not enough to give them dignity for that montage.
Correct. Even though they have those little token moments where, one sister says, I'm comfortable with my body, the other sister says, I'm comfortable with my color.
But if you kahoge, to kar lunga.
Exactly. So no, this was a big no. You have one more film that you saw.
Yes. So I saw Thallumalla, which is a Malayalam film with Tovino Thomas. Who's
always interesting.
I love him as an actor.
Me too.
So it's done by the director who made Love with Shine Tom Chako. And Shine Tom Chako is also in this movie. It's a crazy ride, ma'am. So I went into the theatre, full Malayalam audience, and
what fun.
It's the first time I've seen like hooting and cheering for just transitions and editing, skills. It is a very Edgar Wright-ish film. It's fast cast, really animated, great music, great visuals. So it was a visual treat. The movie is just about brawls. It's the title basically translated into Ballad of Brawls. So you're basically just sitting over there.
It's like the Gaul village.
It is. It's just one fight after the other, and you're like, I love the fact it's not deeper than that. So I had an absolute ball. So it was great fun.
And before we go to audience comments, we should also just spend a few minutes, because we didn't do a show after Darlings, which I think is a really nicely done debut film. Alia Bhatt was lovely, so was Shefali Shah. But for me, the star of the show was really Vijay Varma, who was so good at Hamza. What did you think of it?
I remember you telling me about it. I was like, kitna acha hoga. And I loved it. I immediately messaged him. I was like, you were so good. Because I was completely blown away by him. I feel like the brewing anger and the sort of like unexpected nature of him bursting at any point. I thought those scenes were done so well.
He's so chilling.
And I loved Roshan Mathew and Shefali
Roshan Mathew
Shah's
is
angle.
fab.
I loved it.
That moment, and again, spoiler alert, but I think it's been enough time now. That moment when he declares his love for Shefali Shah made me just applaud.
Love permission ke saath nahi aata.
Yeah, love permission ke saath nahi aata. And she's looking at him, and then she actually kisses him. And I was like, you know what? I'm sold. This is just wonderful.
It was lovely. I thought it was really done well. And I felt like Netflix was a good home for this kind of movie as well.
Absolutely.
I thought that was a great decision.
It's a good move.
Yeah.
It's a good move.
Because then discussions are basically around the quality of the movie and nothing else. And I love that.
Yeah. Me too. Okay, let's take the comments. Okay, my first comment is from Nikunj Dikshit, and he says, oddly, Aamir is the one element that disappointed me in this film. The film itself is fine, but he's honestly not at his best. It's difficult not to compare him to Hanks, who was so much subtle and underplayed, whereas Aamir just overdoes the quirks too much. The complaints about his performance being the same as in PK and Dhoom 3 are not unwarranted. He's much better in the emotional moments. Honestly, Kareena Kapoor stole the show from him. For me, I agree, Nikunj. Same for me. I think Kareena definitely stole the show.
So this is Sherwin Dakuna. He's written, just saw the film right now, and I'm feeling a world of emotions. Having already seen and loved Forrest Gump, I was apprehensive but also excited at the prospect of the Indian adaptation. Credit where due, they have nicely integrated the various pivotal moments of contemporary Indian history, and the numerous nods to original scenes were nice too. I really enjoyed the child actors' performances, and I'd have happily seen a whole movie with just the kids. However, it was sad to see someone like Aamir ham so much. The tics he employed became jarring after a point. It sucks that the effort is there to see in terms of the production, just that Aamir was a letdown. Then again, some of the people in my show clapped after the film, so I guess each to his own. I mean, I agree that, the concept of the kids being lovely.
Yeah.
And I have to say, ma'am, I felt the initial portions of covering, say, the anti-Sikh riots, I thought those sequences were done well as well.
Yeah.
It's just that those pivotal moments of, say, getting the Anna Hazare angle, or like some Mandal Commission, some of those moments were almost like
tacked on.
Just to cover a historical event, they're just like ticking a box.
Correct.
Than it really
because in Forrest Gump, Anmol, if you remember, he actually alters the course of history in many instances.
Yeah.
Like in Watergate. He's the guy in the other hotel who says there are lights shining in the office and can somebody look into it. Here it wasn't that, apart from that glorious SRK cameo.
I loved it.
I loved it. I wanted to clap. It was so wonderful.
I have to say that DDLJ frame came and everybody started shouting. I was like, that's it. I think we miss him also.
Yeah, we do miss him. God, yes.
Yes.
But I felt like they didn't integrate
I agree.
enough either.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to Raksha Bandhan. This is yours, Anmol.
Yeah. So, ma'am, Anupama Mall has said the film focused more on the regressive part than the progressive one. The message ended up being that dowry is wrong, but women have to get married.
Exactly.
That's very well put, actually. And that was my biggest issue with it. And now, what more to say? We've expanded upon it so much.
We have. There's another one for you on Raksha Bandhan.
So this is Arushi Yadav. She said, glad to see I'm not the only one who felt the movie was regressive despite being quite entertaining at times. I had the same thoughts about the ending. That line, अगर किसी लड़की को छेड़ा तो उससे शादी करनी होगी, was a bit too much. It really made me cringe. Also, Lala selling his kidney was so sudden it felt funny then sad. I won't say that it was funny, but it came out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere.
For sure.
Suddenly he's selling a kidney.
Yeah.
And so you notch up the drama to that level, but you're really not invested in these people. Tonally, it's just so off. Just so off. And I'm kind of bummed because I think Himanshu and Kanika both do very interesting work. And I don't know if this is the first one that they've done together. Do you know if it's the first?
I don't know.
Yeah. So it's like they're both individually, they've done very interesting things.
Yeah.
So I don't know why this just felt like...
Probably they were conflicting while writing it. It's like, no, we should focus more on the dynamic. Let's add more jokes. Let's call her Amavas Ki Raat, Moti San, Double Decker. And he's like, no, let's focus on the progressive part. And they were just clashing constantly.
Yeah.
All conjecture.
And I just felt like also Anand L. Rai, who's even in Atrangi Re, which I'm not personally a fan of, felt like he had the reins of the film much more.
I agree.
Much more than in this, where it felt like all over the place.
Yeah, it was exhausting at one point, ma'am.
Yeah.
And it was 1 hour 15 minutes, so that says a lot.
That says it all. Yeah. Well, what are you looking forward to?
So, Dobaaraa is coming.
Correct,
which is
Anurag
Anurag's
Kashyap's.
film.
Always interesting.
Always interesting. I've seen the Spanish film.
Right.
So it is actually it develops really well. It's technically a little complex.
So I decided not to, because this has been my constant kind of existential crisis with remakes, especially when they're thrillers.
Yeah.
That do I not enjoy them because I already know what's coming? So I said for Badla also, I didn't see it, and here I said, okay, Let's not see it and let's go in cold.
Yeah, I think that's best right now because I tried that for Hit when both of us had seen it.
Correct.
And even the slight change, I was like, okay, I'm just not a fan of this. So I think you're in a safe territory.
It biases you in some way?
It does, of course. And I think right now, because of the OTT platforms, everyone's become accustomed to the original material, and that's going to be like always the case.
Yeah.
Especially Vikram Vedha and these things coming out. Like
that's a tough one.
Come on. And I think Liger is coming the next
That's
week
right.
after.
That's right. I have to say that I am pumped for Liger.
You are?
Because I just feel like it's so over the top.
Yeah.
And who knows, if they get it right, I think Vijay Deverakonda is a very charismatic
I love him.
actor.
I love him.
Yeah.
I think he has great energy.
It's hard to not look at him.
Yeah.
Even when he's doing batshit crazy stuff, even when he's being toxic, you keep looking.
I agree 100%. I just am getting all my red flags on because of the music coming out, and the music doesn't look really nice. So that's my only skepticism. But I will always go for a Vijay movie. So I'm pumped nonetheless. Yeah.
So Anmol, we will be back after Liger, and congratulations Anshul Gupta. You are the winner of our FC giveaway contest for the Laal Singh Chaddha review. Your name came up in our lucky draw, so stay tuned. We're sending you official FC merchandise. Thank you to everyone who participated. We will be doing this more often. And thank you for watching Late Take. It's always such fun to talk to you.
Always such fun, ma'am. Can't wait next time.
Thank you.